Hi everyone, I'm Yogita Mehra of the class of 1994, and I must say it's an honor to be here at BIS Talks. I'm a gardener, as you can see. I help people grow food organically without the use of chemicals, and that is something that has got synonymous with the food we eat and buy these days. I also run an organic kitchen garden store by the name of Green Essentials, and that's also located in Goa. Now, gardening is not something I have been trained in. It's literally something I grew to learn. I cannot say that I had this grand plan that this is what I'm going to do. There was no step-by-step decision-making process that I followed that got me here today. But I do know that I have BIS to thank for the curiosity that it kindled in me over the 12 years that I spent there. And it went a long way in bringing me where I am today. So my ideas of what I've wanted to do have almost always at best been nebulous, which means I've made the decision of what I want to do almost at the point where I've had to make the decision. A quick rewind. After I left BIS, I did my bachelor's in economics from St. Xavier's College in Bombay. I then hung around a year at Kalina University trying to figure out what to do next. During this period, I met some campaigners from Greenpeace and I did a little bit of campaigning work with them. Then I went off in 2001 to the US to do my master's in environmental economics. I got back in a couple of years and very soon I got a job with the Energy and Resources Institute, that is TERI, and this was at their Goa office, which was 17 years ago. I'm still here in Goa. However, I left TERI after 8 years and started what was then an eco store in 2009, and it very quickly morphed into this kitchen garden center, that is Green Essentials, and since then we have been helping people grow food organically at home. So I've done this largely with a lot of help from my husband Karan, luck, a sense of adventure, and the ability to stick it out. I think that has also helped a lot. But I must mention my 8-year-old daughter Tara. She said, "Mama, are you going to talk about me in this talk or not?" So Tara, this is for you. But I really want to draw the attention back to this sense of adventure that I think BIS went a long way in instilling in me and perhaps a lot of you as well. So BIS was really my very first window to the world, as I'm sure many schools are for students and children. But why BIS is important in my journey is because it was a window to several worlds and very early on. And I find that of the numerous things that we were exposed to, I think a sense of adventure and the love for the environment is what I was drawn towards. So I don't know how it is now, but when we were in school, each year we had to go for 3 treks compulsorily. You couldn't miss it. If you had to miss it, you had to get a doctor's certificate, and I'm so glad I don't think I missed any of them. But it was the much awaited monsoon hike where we went and we soaked ourselves. There was the educational tour, and there was the camping trip. And during these we basically soaked under waterfalls. We went and saw historic monuments. We rappelled down rock faces. We built campfires, and all the while kindling that sense of adventure and a love for the environment in which we lived. It was this very sense of adventure and love for the environment that sort of became an inner compass and guided a lot of the decisions I made. Continues to guide a lot of the decisions I do make even today. The only kitchen garden that I knew growing up was one lone narangi tree that was tended to by my dadi on the 3rd floor of a very urban residence. It was a very productive tree. It grew in a pot and it was sour as anything, but it managed to produce a year's supply worth of pickles and marmalade for a family of 10. So you can imagine the productivity of that one tree in an urban setting. So I often get asked, how was it that I chose to do this, or how did I come about this kind of work? And like I've said earlier, there was no grand plan, and in fact I don't know whether there was any plan at all. But I'm pretty certain that if I had continued to live in a big city, I would not have become a gardener. Living amidst farms has been a very thought-provoking and an immersive experience. and it is something that continuously stoked that sense of adventure in me. Not just, for the typical 3 nights, 4 days when we city folks escape out into the hills or to the beaches to get a break from our urban environments. So this is where the ideas really germinated. It started by me wanting to compost my kitchen waste, and then that compost was used to grow mint or pudina for my beloved cup of morning tea. My kitchen garden at the time was literally 3 pots: pudina, pudina and pudina. And honestly, growing something that you can consume like mint, so fragrant, so fresh, is very addictive. It sort of catches you by the nose and literally leads you down the garden path. And before I knew it, 3 pots became 10, and 10 pots became a move to a house with a garden. And then we were doing 1,000 square meter farm, then we were doing 2 farms, and the progression was pretty exponential, both in time and in space. And very quickly we were running a farmer's market and providing local vegetables, seasonal vegetables to the community we lived in. Along the way I realized that I used to call myself a foodie, but I didn't quite have a sense of where great food came from. For a lot of us urban foodies, food is almost like a sport. We are constantly trying to find new places to eat, find who's recommending a new joint, what are the ratings of a restaurant on some app, that kind of stuff. But food for real foodies is something different entirely. It is about ingredients, it is about the raw materials that go into making great food. I discovered that there are different kinds of potatoes for making chips and for making a bhaji. There's a different kind of peanut that you roast to eat, and a different kind of peanut that you use to make chutneys. I used to grow 1 kind of mint. I now grow 5. There is bergamot mint, there is Japanese mint, spearmint, peppermint, apple mint. It's pretty mind-boggling the varieties that exist of a single kind of plant. So, this learning that happened about food and its ingredients came not from urban food critics and foodies, but from the growers of a lot of this food. Interestingly, I also learned that farmers grow food commercially in very different ways relative to the food that they grow and they consume themselves. The chemicals that are regularly sprayed on commercial farms are entirely absent from their own kitchen gardens. I mean, I could talk for a half a day about how our food is compromised, but I'll leave that for another day. It's interesting that as consumers, we are very knowledgeable about the end product that lands up on our plates, but we have very little knowledge about the process food follows to get to it. The bottom line is that great ingredients make great food. I'm Punjabi, and that means that I love talking about food, I love planning my meals, I love cooking it, I love shopping for it, I love feeding people, and repeating the whole process all over again. So you can see where all this is coming from. We are here in my nursery. This is where we raise baby plants or vegetable seedlings for those who are interested in growing their own kitchen gardens. And I've been thinking, I realized that for me it was this: grow your own food, don't spray your food with poison, as we know is commonly done. Pick the varieties of plants that you want to grow. Pick them carefully. Pick them for taste and not for the ones that are the biggest or the ones that travel the best. Nourish your soil and watch your garden nourish you back. As I gardened, I learned so much that I wanted to share what I learned about food with others who loved food equally as much. And for me, it was a seamless extension from my kitchen to the kitchen garden that was made possible because I didn't have to imagine an alternative. It was right there under my nose where I live. My purpose to tell you all of this is not to give you a lesson in growing food. I mean, you should have been paying more attention during Mrs. Daruwala's classes. And nor is it to tell you to leave the cities and start a kitchen garden out in the countryside somewhere. But it is just to pause and to think about the significance of the ability to grow food for oneself and one's family. We often complain about how things are just so terrible around us that we feel powerless to change, bring about any change in our environment in so many ways. But I have found that to be able to grow your own food or to tend your own kitchen garden is a very empowering thing. The other thing about tending a kitchen garden is that one gets to observe the wonders, the magic, the mystery of nature up close and personal. I mean, imagine I have this one little seed of palak in my hand. How many palak paneers are hidden in this? Or if I have one tomato seed in my hand, how many? There are numerous tomatoes in that one seed. And to me, if that isn't magic, then what is? In wrapping up, I'd like to say that it is possible to grow some amount of the food we eat no matter where we live. I started by growing in 3 boxes. It moved on to a few pots in balconies. I have grown in farms, I've grown in kitchen gardens. And I've also worked with different people growing at different scales. I've worked with people who want to set up kitchen gardens for their homes, for their families, for their children, for restaurants, for cafes, for farmers and farmers groups. We've worked with them as well. And at the end of the day, I realized that, no matter where we are and no matter what we are doing and how busy the lives that we lead are, if one really wants to, anyone can do.